There is not enough light over here, but I'm still making this video so that the excitement and the freshness of it does not go away. God has healed me of all the pain and the suffering I used to go through in my menstrual cycle. I used to go through multiple symptoms, different kinds of symptoms and stuff, and I have been suffering with this for the past 16 years. And God has healed me of all of this, and this has happened in only 2 months. So I'm going to share all of this, how everything just happened. Okay, so the first thing is what all I used to go through when I got my periods every month. I was 13 when I got my periods, and from the very beginning the pain was extreme. I didn't used to go through stomachache. Stomachache was still less, but the backache was extreme. I mean, just above your hips, the pain was extreme. I could not tolerate it. It was difficult for me to stand. I used to just lie down on the bed all the time. And this was the first day. My pain was on the first day only, and it was really bad. The second thing was vomiting, puking. So this was the beginning time when I got my periods, around 13, 15, 16, 17 years old. I used to puke, I used to vomit, and I could not eat anything. I used to cry all the time. I remember, my mom was there, and I used to just cry and cry and cry all the time. This was the first day. Second, third, fourth day was all fine. It was all peaceful. But first day, the story was bad. The story was really bad. I used to cry all the time. I used to take the hot water bag and put it on my back so that the pain comes down. But no, it did not help me. It never helped me. And I have suffered with it a lot. I remember there was a time in school, it was the summer season, and I got my periods. I went to the infirmary. I took the sanitary napkin and everything, and I took a sweater from her because I was feeling so cold. In that hot weather, I was wearing a sweater. And when I came back to my class, everybody was looking at me that she's wearing a sweater in this hot weather, when everyone is sweating and they want to drink water, and it's just so hot. And I was literally wearing a sweater because I was shivering. And that was the first day of my periods. I wasn't taking any painkillers or anything at that time. I could not eat anything in my first day. There was a lot of pain. Sorry for the sound. There was a lot of pain on the back, little bit of cramps on my stomach, and shivering, feeling cold, not eating anything, crying all the time, and vomiting. Now, when I moved out of my hometown, there was another thing which I started experiencing, and that was diarrhea. Unpleasant visits to the washroom. It was really difficult. And it wasn't one time. I had to go to the washroom multiple times on my first day because of the diarrhea. The upset stomach, it really got bad. So there was puking, and there was diarrhea, and there was pain, not eating food, lying on the bed, just crying and crying and crying. Hot water, I used to take the hot water back, but it really didn't help me. And by this time, when I moved out of my hometown, I was taking a painkiller. I started painkiller at that time when I moved out of my hometown. The painkiller helped me, but it helped me 2, 3, 4 hours later. For 2, 3, 4 hours, I used to suffer really, really bad. And eventually, as time passed, there was another symptom which I started experiencing, and that was swelling on my tummy. It happened for some time, for a few years, and after that it stopped. And now another symptom came, and that was fever. I was already suffering so much. There was so much of pain. There were unpleasant visits to the washroom. There was puking, not eating food, and now it was fever. I had all of these things together on the first day. And the most crazy part, it stayed with me for 24 hours. 23 hours, 24 hours, and immediately, it got better. The moment that 24 hours were finished, I just started getting better. Second day, third day, fourth day was all good. 24 hours were really, really painful. And it was really strange. For 24 hours, I used to suffer and suffer and suffer. And after that, I was just normal. I was just fine. I was jumping around the second day. I was dancing, I was singing, I was cooking food, I was eating the second day. Everything was fine. But for first 24 hours it was really crazy. And this has happened with me in airport, in family functions, in a trip with my friends. I was out on a holiday and I got my periods and my situation was really bad. My day got ruined, but the friends I was with, their day got ruined as well because my situation was so bad. So I have gone through this at different events, and it has been a disaster for me and for the ones who were by my side. Again, the painkiller was helpful, but it was helpful only after 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, I used to suffer and used to suffer really bad. Now I'll tell you how God worked on all of this. If in case you have been watching my previous videos, I'm sure you're aware of this thing that I lost my faith in between and I went through anxiety, and eventually my faith started getting better. I started believing in the Lord, trusting him with my life events and affairs of my life. So it started getting better. And this was last year only that I started seeing changes in my faith, my relationship with the Lord, trusting him with the events in your life, trusting him with, different affairs and different circumstances of your life. So my relationship with him got better last year. And in the month of August, God told me when I got my periods, and I was, obviously, I'm a believer in God. I've always cried to him and I've always told him I go through so much of pain. I suffer during my periods because there were girls around me not going through anything, just a little bit of pain here and there, and they were all good. But I was just suffering and suffering and suffering. And I used to cry to the Lord every time. And I have been a believer in God. I have a believer in God for the past 7, 8 years, like crazy believer. I just love him so much. But God had the right time for me, at the right time. This was his plan, he wanted to reveal this thing to me at the right time. So this was the time when he actually told me last year, August, that what you're going through is nothing but the attack by the devil. It is just the demon attacking you. And I was like, okay, if it's a demon attacking me, then we can cast it out. We can just cast it out through the prayers. By this time, I had really learned that, if you're going through anxiety or the demon of lust or the demon of alcohol, you can cast it away. It cannot stand in the name of Christ. You cast it out in your prayers and it will just fly off. I learned this thing. And I was like, okay, now that God has revealed to me that whatever you're going through, it's just the devil attacking you, the demon attacking you in this way. So I'll pray about it and it will go away. I knew this thing. I totally had faith that if I'll pray, the devil will go away. Faith is what we need. Faith is the thing, and God knew this thing, that she's going to lose her faith in between. But when her faith comes back, I will tell this thing to her, I will reveal this thing to her, and then she can move on and proceed with it. And one thing to be noted over here was, like I told you, it happened with me for 24 hours, and after 24 hours it was something like, something just goes away from your body, and the next day I was all good. I was jumping around, I was cooking food, I was eating, I was singing, I was all fine. I was normal like anybody else. So I could connect the dots when God told me that it is the devil attacking you, because after 24 hours my body was just fine. It was literally like, the devil going away. In the month of August last year, I prayed. I was just praying on and off a little bit here and there. My faith was getting better. Of course, God knew about this. That is why he revealed this thing to me. I was still building my relationship with the Lord. There were still things happening in my in the spiritual life. So that is why I was praying on and off. And at the same time, YouTube was happening. I was making videos and God was giving me new ideas that I can make a video on this and I can make a video on that. And he was just telling me some an insight into the word of God, and I was making videos on that. I was really excited about that part. So I didn't pay much attention to it. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the cramps I used to go through in my menstrual cycle. And you'll be like, hey, if you're suffering with it for the past 16 years, why didn't you pay attention to it? Because it was only 24 hours, one day in one complete month. So I was like, let me just hold this for some time and pay attention to my YouTube, the way God was revealing me so many, He was giving me so many new ideas. So I just paid a little attention to the YouTube, and eventually, whenever the time comes, whenever I'm okay and I'm settled down with YouTube, I will just pray about it, the menstrual cramps and the periods, the pain and everything. Honestly speaking, I worked crazy hard to just put YouTube into place. And by December, I was done. December, I started praying for the periods problem, the suffering, the pain, the symptoms, everything. I started praying about it regularly. So I pray every day. So a prayer, a petition always went to the Lord about the menstrual cycle, about the pain and the suffering I used to go through. And this time I was consistent with it. I was literally consistent with my petition that, I will present it to the Lord every day, that I'm going through all of this. It is the devil. You have to cast out the devil. You have to just make the devil go away. And I should be normal and fine when it comes to my menstrual cycle. This time I was consistent. And on the first month, January, when I got my periods, 85% of it was all gone. Whatever I was going through, no unpleasant visits to the washroom, no puking, no fever, nothing. But I literally felt some pain on my back. So what I did, I took the tablet so that I'm more human-like. I'm still feeling and looking like a human being, because I have suffered so bad. I didn't used to feel like a human being. I felt so horrible, so disgusted that I stopped feeling like a human being for 24 hours. This time, 85% of the symptoms were totally gone, and I was so much fine, so much fine. And I thought when in January I got my periods that this is all. God is going to heal me only this much, nothing beyond that. But God proved me wrong. In this month, the February, when I got my periods, I was totally fine. No pain, no painkiller, no fever. Of course, last month there was no unpleasant visits to the washroom, no puking, no diarrhea, nothing. But this time there was no pain. I was literally in the kitchen cooking and doing all my other chores. There was nothing that I experienced. Painkiller, just no use of the painkiller. I was so fine. I can say it was 100% sorted by the Lord, because I'm just so normal. I'm just behaving the same way as I behave in other days. No crying, no tears, no washroom visits, just a normal human. The way I am the rest of the days is the same way I was on the first day as well. So God literally did it 100% for me. He cured me 100%. Not even 1% He left. He cured me completely. But there's one thing which I also followed, and that was when I saw that 85% improvement in the month of January, I still continued presenting my petitions to the Lord every day. Every day there was a prayer going to the Lord about the pain, the suffering and everything that I used to go through. The same petition. Even after being cured, I still had hope. Maybe, God can cure me more. So I kept on presenting the petition to the Lord every day. And the next month it was 100%. Just as normal as I am, like in any other day. It was so smooth, so normal, nothing that I had to go through. And this is something that I've been suffering with for the past 16 years. It has been a hell for me. 24 hours were nothing less than hell. It was extremely painful. I could not bear it. I could not tolerate it. It was so difficult that I could not even walk to the kitchen and open a water bottle and drink water. Cooking food, drinking something else, preparing something else was out of the picture. I could not even think of it, because drinking water was itself so difficult for me. Moving out of my bed, going to the kitchen and helping myself out with stuff, it was really difficult for me. And this has been happening with me for the past 16 years. And God has healed me 100%. Wow. And how I prayed about it, Two things. I presented two petitions to the Lord every day, but before that, it was faith that actually worked. Without faith, it is impossible to please the Lord. What we read in the New Testament. So faith was the first thing that I needed. And the next thing was that I presented a petition to the Lord, a prayer to the Lord every day. And it was same. It was same. The first thing I told him that I go through a lot of pain in my menstrual cycle, and that suffering. So cast out this devil, cast out this demon of menstrual pain that I go through. And the second thing was the devil attacks me with different symptoms, with different stuff, that all those things which I used to go through. I go through different symptoms in my menstrual cycle. So cast out this devil, the devil which is attacking me in different forms, just cast it away. So two things I used to mention to the Lord every day, same prayer every day. And he just worked amazingly. He cured me 100%. He wasn't looking for any lengthy prayers. All he wanted was that I should involve him in my suffering. I should take his help. I should present the prayer and the petition to him, conveying my message to him and casting out the devil at the same time. The devil which is attacking me in different forms as well. So that is all God wanted. Simple, short, specific, but a consistent prayer. That's what Jesus says, Keep on knocking the door unless the Lord has answered your prayer. So I kept on doing this thing over and over again every day. I literally felt by 85%, this is all what God is going to do. But no, God proved me wrong, and I should not have thought so less of the Lord at that time. I'm just feeling a little guilty. But the next month, I was still consistent with my prayers, and he cured me 100%. So this is my testimony and how the Lord has beautifully healed me. It was nothing but the devil attacking me, and it was coming in different forms, in different symptoms in those 24 hours, and it literally made my life hell. I know girls throughout the world, they go through so much of pain and so much of suffering. There was one girl, she told me she used to go through shoulder pain. There was another friend of mine, she said she used to go through thighs, the pain in the thighs, but her suffering was not as bad as mine. There was another lady, she said she had headache during the menstrual cycle. So there were multiple symptoms. It's just the scheme of the devil. Cast out the devil and you're going to be fine. But you need faith and you need to involve the Lord. Ask the Lord to cast out the devil and the devil will fly away. God will make sure that the devil flies off and it does not attack you. Be consistent with your prayers. That is what he wants. God wants a combination of prayer and faith, and he promises to heal you. I am myself an example as to how beautifully the Lord has healed me. But the only requirement was that I was presenting a prayer to him on a consistent basis with faith in it, believing that yes, he is going to heal me of the suffering and the pain that I go through. It does not matter how severe your symptoms are or how small your symptoms are. You just need to be normal even when you get your periods. You just need to be as fine as you are on the other days of your life. So God promises to heal. All you need to do is have faith in him and pray about it on consistent basis every day. I did it every day and my prayer was short and specific. 2 things and he did all the work. So this is all for today's video and my testimony and the story how God has beautifully healed me. I really hope it has helped someone and it has encouraged you to, take a step further and pray to the Lord about what you are going through, the pain and the suffering in your menstrual cycle. Thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for watching this video.